This week's guest, John A. Allison of North Carolina, a distinguished professor at the School of Business at Wake Forest University, could be speaking to us as a banker, a CEO, an entrepreneur. He's received numerous awards on all three counts, but he's here to do a book report, much as one of his students might do. He's here to talk about an author he admires enormously, Ayn Rand, author of many books, including Atlas Shrugged, a book which is enjoying considerable renaissance across North America and the world today.
In 20, 25 years, the United States mathematically certainly goes broke. You run the numbers, we go broke.
And you're actually generous with 25 years.
Yeah,
because
it may be shorter.
Yeah, it could at this rate, yeah.
So we have to do something. It's analogous, I think, to having a form of terminal cancer. Now, the good news, the cancer is treatable, but the bad news, it will be painful. And so there will be pain involved in it, but if we don't go through the pain, then we will die in a certain sense as a country. We will end up being a third world economy. So I think not everybody, I think the majority of people can be convinced of going through the pain if they understand the consequences and they understand that in the long term our children and grandchildren will be dramatically better off. If you think about it, what we're doing to our children and grandchildren is immoral. And I don't think many people really want to do that. If you ask me, would I like to set up the kind of world where my grandchildren are going to face serious economic problems versus sacrificing today? I'll sacrifice today in a heartbeat. Not because I don't care about my own life, but I do feel a certain kind of love for my children and my grandchildren that's important to me. And I don't want to be responsible for not giving them a good chance to be happy.
And what happens, because again I'm thinking in media terms because that's my business, that's my industry, right. What happens when the pain becomes dramatic and, well, for instance, when a city goes bankrupt and there's no, the sewer service and all those things just cannot function, we might say, well, they asked for it, it's time to, but meanwhile the toilet's overflowing. I mean, when it gets very nitty-gritty, is a little bit of gas in the car allowed or not?
Well, here's what I think. If we actually allocated our resources rationally, we could certainly have good sewage. I mean, if you look at the amount of money we spend on things that don't need to be done, it's pretty stunning.
Yes, correct, absolutely correct.
And a lot of our challenges forward commitments that we've made. We've got an out-of-control cost in Medicare, for example. What we need to do is move back to a private medical system. Look at food. Food's more important than medicine. If you don't have any food, you die for it, right? And yet, food costs as a percentage of our budget has been in a free fall. And yet we have basically very limited interference in the food market by the government. It's the government's interference in the medical market that's created an incredibly inefficient system, or in case of countries like Canada where there's a huge rationing of health care that leads to really big problems long term. And what we need to do is privatize medicine. It needs to be a 20-year program because we didn't get here in 2 weeks.
That's right, yeah.
But
that's what I'm wondering.
The discipline of the market, there would almost, this is an interesting thing, printing money to spend on things you don't need to do, which is what we've been doing, is not going to raise your standard of living. You know that at home, right? And
yes,
I think the immediate, as soon as business people grasped that the United States was having discipline, that we weren't going to go broke, they would be more optimistic and they'd be more willing to make investments, and we could drive a faster growth rate. Because the real mathematical solution for our problems is dramatically improving the economic growth rate. And that depends on people's confidence that they're going to be able to innovate, be creative, be free, not be overregulated, not be overtaxed. And so I think if we had the right picture of the future, while there'd be some pain in the short term, people could grasp that picture and see how much better they and their grandchildren would be better off. And I think then the pain would be a lot less dramatic. And we're still a wealthy society, so we can take care of the toilets and things like that. So
there would be a little bit of Band-Aid or whatever you want to call it, some kind of social engineering to kind of mop up the worst messes.
Well, here, the social engineering to me was we could eliminate 9 out of 10 regulations. Regulatory cost in the United States exceeds taxes. And I know in the banking business, if you ask me what would I rather do, to get rid of regulations. So, and 95% of these regulations are actually destructive instead of productive. You could free up huge amounts of human resources in very short periods of time. So yeah, you need a Band-Aid, but I don't think you need social engineering. What I think you need is a free society and a free market.